Time now for sports on 104.7 The Cave. Here's Ned Reynolds.
Mike the intern, Ned Reynolds, back in the studio Monday morning. It is under our belts. The first week of the regular season is finished. Thought on the Chiefs game Thursday. Let's start there.
By the length of Isaiah Likely's toenail. You can say the Chiefs were lucky. They really weren't lucky because they owned the game against the Baltimore Ravens. They were the better team. Kansas City bases its entire attack on quickness, and they are quick. Now, that's not to say the other teams in the NFL aren't, but Kansas City utilizes their quickness to the very best, and that's a huge factor. The offensive line, they did okay. They could have perhaps played a little bit better. I think that's a weak point with the Chiefs, but the weakness is categorical here. The defensive backfield could have been a little bit better, but you're facing Lamar Jackson, and he can really make you look bad, being the National Football League's reigning most valuable player. So all that's taken into consideration. I hope the Chiefs played well. I think they're going to have a good year. They come up with a second, quote, big game, end quote, coming up on Sunday when the Cincinnati Bengals come in. But the Bengals lose. They lose their opener, and it's a home game, and they lose it to the New England Patriots, who, won 4 games last season, and have a new coach, and the Bengals lose to them? Whoa. Kansas City will be a fairly substantial favorite going into that game on Sunday.
It just goes to show you how much they rely on Higgins and Chase in Cincinnati.
Oh, yeah. Gosh, yes.
Chase just showed up for his day at work at literally game day, and Higgins was out. So, yeah, it's they were in a good look in Cincinnati, but you do not want to underestimate them at all. Speaking of luck, what'd you think about your green and white and their performance against the Packers?
Played well. I thought Philadelphia played very well, and they showed me quite a bit playing in that game. Coming from behind, Packers are a pretty good team, and the Eagles came from behind and beat them 34-26, or 27, I guess it was, 34-27. In a solid football game. Philadelphia's defense was very good. I thought Hurts played very well. The Eagles, I should say, looked to me to be back in form again, but then again, they won their first, 10 games? They were 10-1 last year before going on a horrendous losing streak. It's the NFL, and anything can happen. There is massive parity in that league, and that includes the Chiefs. They're going to run up against some teams. It's not all going to be peaches and cream for them. I can't see them going undefeated, but I can see them winning, at least playing in another Super Bowl again. But in terms of the overall level of the games, I thought Philadelphia was excellent.
I was going to say, as far as the Eagles-Packers game, it's really obvious that Kelsey's not on the Eagles anymore. I'm going to stand by my statement before the season started. I think this is a do or die for Hurts, and we'll see what kind of quarterback he really is. It was kind of shaky against the Packers.
Well,
I saw a different game.
At the very start he was, yes. That's because he was.
That's what I'm talking about.
Keep in mind now, none of those guys, not a single one, played any exhibition game. They didn't play any of them. All 3 of them, they didn't play. Hurts didn't see any action. And I think the same with the Chiefs.
How many drop snaps did they have in that one game? 3?
Yeah, 3.
I mean, come on. That says something to me. I know you bleed green and white, but I was like, I think this is the year they take the dive. Also, I got to say something about the Tennessee Titans. You really got to be bad to lose to a team when their quarterback you're playing only throws for 93 yards. And they still beat you.
Well, how about Joe Burrow?
Oh, dude.
167 yards or whatever it was yesterday? That's unconscionable. That just doesn't happen.
Yeah, it was a weird day. We got a lot to talk about in college football. I can't wait to talk about that, but that'll come down the road. What about NASCAR? Are you surprised the results of the race yesterday?
This was the first of the NASCAR playoff races. There are 10 of them, and 16 drivers we'll put it in the past tense, were in the hunt for the championship. But that field has been cut to 12 now. Now, that doesn't mean anybody else races, just those 12. No, it's a full field of drivers, but they're the only ones who are eligible for the NASCAR championship. Joey Logano got the win in overtime. Daniel Suarez was second, but that field is now 12. 4 drivers eliminated after yesterday's. Now, the next event is coming up next week. It's 10 races until the championship in Phoenix. 10 races. The next one is at Watkins Glen, the historic road race course in upstate New York. That'll be an altogether different style of racing, but this is the playoffs for NASCAR, and whomever wins that points championship gets, the big prize, as you might expect.
So I will say this for my Kansas City Royals. They have given me one hell of a season to watch. A couple weeks ago, we were on top of the world, tied for the lead, and then someone pulled the floor out from under us, fell, and then over the weekend had a pretty damn good series against the Twins.
They did indeed. There are 19 games remaining in the regular season, and the Royals are very much in the hunt. Now, they're 3 games back of the Cleveland Guardians, and that's for first place in the American League Central. That's going to be problematic, but the the Royals are certainly in the playoff hunt as far as a wild card team is concerned. They're in very good shape as far as that's concerned. Royals won yesterday 2-0. They are, as I mentioned, 2.5 up in the wild card race, and that's pretty substantial. Now, the St. Louis Cardinals, that's a different story. They lost to Seattle yesterday 10-4. They're 10 games out of first place with those 19 remaining, and 6 out of a wild card berth. And in that 6 in the wild card, they have the Cubs and the Mets in front of them, and that really presents a major barrier. But we'll see what happens. The Cardinals take on the Cincinnati Reds tomorrow night. It's a 3-game series. Cardinals could do well in that series. The Milwaukee Brewers are out in San Francisco to play the Giants. The Giants haven't been great this year, but in all honesty, the Brewers haven't either, even though they are in the lead. Okay, that sets the stage for this week. Springfield Cardinals win their final game at home in the regular season, and they won over the Northwest Arkansas Naturals 4-3, but this team is just playing out the string. They go on the road starting tomorrow night to San Antonio to play the Missions, but it doesn't mean anything because the playoffs have already been decided, and the Springfield Cardinals will open the playoffs a week from tomorrow night in Little Rock. They'll play the Arkansas Travelers, 1 game there, a day off, and then 1 on Thursday, and if necessary, a second one on Friday here at Hammons Field. And for the winner of that one, on to the league championship, which is also best of 3, and will be determined the following week. So it's getting right down now. We knew this team was going to be in the playoffs. They're entirely too good, and got off to that great start, 14-5 this year. But the Springfield Cardinals have a nice ball club, and I expect they're going to do very well.
Good luck to the hometown team. All right, everyone gets super excited around Labor Day weekend because college football is back. I don't really start getting excited until this last weekend because the first weekend across the country is usually like the Ned Reynolds Technical College versus Missouri. And then, and it's like, thanks for getting our ass kicked. Let's give me the check, But then this past week, it's really the week you get to see some actual competition and some upsets, and we definitely got that on Saturday.
Well, the Missouri State Bears, will start with them. They played their D1 opponent for the year and should have, in my opinion, beaten them. The Bears lose the game to Ball State 42-34, and the Bears ran out of gas down the stretch. And that's going to happen when a team that only has 63 scholarships, as the Bears will have this year, that changes next year, folks, changes completely. 63 to the 86 for the D1A teams, and starting this year, you can go up to 105 if you can afford it. But the Bears lose at 42-34. I thought played very well, commendable football, playing Ball State. Now, Missouri blanked Buffalo 38-0. Buffalo plays in the same conference with Ball State, and Buffalo's pretty good. There are a lot of good teams in that Mid-America Conference. Incidentally, Ball State, on their schedule, a bit of an anomaly. They have Miami on there twice. Once is Miami of Ohio, which is in their conference. The other is Miami of Florida, number 10 in America, and that's who Ball State plays in Miami next Saturday. So long, Ball State. Been nice knowing you.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough
Miami
tough game.
Is awfully tough. Evangel got a win, 33-17 over Tabor College, and just a really solid weekend for our football teams. They're pretty good. We're playing some good college football. The Bears open at home this Saturday night, taking on Lindenwood, which is in the Ohio Valley Conference, and opened up with Kansas and got blasted by them, but you expect that.
Got paid, though. And I would like to take a moment and give big props to the program at Northern Illinois and their Huskies for beating the Fighting Irish.
Also in the same conference with Ball State and Buffalo, and they go to South Bend and beat Notre Dame.
What a game.
This is interesting, too, Mike, because we were some of the football pundits. When Notre Dame beat Texas A&M in the opener, the general consensus was they could go the rest of the season undefeated because it's not a very tough conference. Not so fast.
Huskies, baby.
They lose the next
Man,
week.
how'd you do in your selections this past weekend?
On to the next question.
All right. I know you were probably, as you were crying in your cereal, probably at least happy about the competition in New York at the Open. I thought that was a pretty good championship.
When the pro football situation got a little bit out of hand, I turned it over and watched the men's championship, and it was nothing short of outstanding. Now, they were sweeps in both cases. In the ladies' division, it's Aryna Sabalenka who defeated Jessica Pegula from this country. Both Americans in the men and women's division playing for championship. Jessica Pegula's mom and dad, and we've told you about this before, they're the owners of the Buffalo Bills, so she comes from quite an extensive sports background. Anyway, Aryna Sabalenka won in straight sets, but both scores were 7-5, 7-5, 7-5, which means it was tightly contested all the way. Pegula is a terrific player. In the men's competition, Yannick Sinner, who is Italian, but from the northern section of Italy, his mother language is German. And he kind of identifies more with Germany than he does with Italy. But nonetheless, he is one hell of a player. Now, the kid, you see him out there, and he looks like, in all honesty, you see him out on the court with, much bigger men. He's 6'4", but he's about 165 pounds. He looks like a teenager out there running around. He doesn't play like a teenager.
He plays like a rubber band.
Boy,
they all do.
He is considerable. Well, he's the number one player in the world. And he defeated Taylor Fritz from this country in straight sets yesterday, and there was pretty much one-sided competition. But Yannick Sinner, who is the Open champion, also the Australian Open champion, has 2 Grand Slam titles to his pedigree. 23 years old. He's 6'4", but he's a rail out there playing. But oh my, can he play?
I'll tell you what I feel when I watch those guys. My back hurts just watching them do what they do. Ned, you have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow.